For months, the notion that the coronavirus may have escaped from a lab, one of two biolabs in Wuhan, was dismissed as a conspiracy theory in this country, mostly because the Chinese government wanted it dismissed as a conspiracy theory. That's what our media said to us. But now, newly leaked State Department cables are giving the idea more credence than ever.
The State Department cables from 2018 claiming that the U.S. Embassy officials were worried about the safety procedures of this Wuhan Institute of Virology, where researchers had proven that SARS-like coronaviruses from bats could infect humans.
State Department officials in China, quote, sent two official warnings back to Washington about inadequate safety at the lab, which was conducting risky studies on coronavirus. Washington Post is reporting that. To date, there is no firm evidence that the current pandemic originated in that lab, but questions are mounting.
It is like something out of a sci-fi movie, but leaked State Department cables do show that officials were concerned about a virology lab in Wuhan, China, back in 2018. According to a Washington Post report, U.S. diplomats actually expressed this concern about safety procedures at the lab and warned of risky research on bats.
There are these books on biological warfare by Chinese generals that talk about engineering viruses. This cannot be covered up. The books have been published as long as 5 or 6 years ago. So if this is what the Chinese call the seventh domain of war, and viruses are important to it, then this kind of research makes more sense.
People try to call this a conspiracy theory. It's totally plausible that they were studying coronavirus and it got out somehow.
And although experts who have looked at the genomic sequence do not feel that this is a bioengineered virus, it might be a virus that was being studied in a lab. And it is not inconceivable that this is a virus that escaped containment in the lab. We need to understand this because, first of all, this is a mistake, if that is true, that can never happen again. We need to know.
Officials say the new virus was first detected in Wuhan on December the 12th. Some of the initial patients were employed at the seafood market. Hundreds of kilometers south of Wuhan, at this market in the southern city of Qingyuan, wild animals are crammed inside cages. Mallard ducks, rodents, even porcupines, to be sold for consumption.
Had the WHO done its job to get medical experts into China to objectively assess the situation on the ground and to call out China's lack of transparency, the outbreak could have been contained at its source with very little death, and certainly very little death by comparison.